This just in, Utah football ranked in the Big 12 preseason media poll, number one in the conference. The Utes are getting a lot of media praise right now from Big 12 outlets, from really all college football outlets. Everyone is looking at Utah as the preseason favorite to win the Big 12 in their first season in the conference. So lots of exciting media coverage on that front. Some new recruits, some new announcements from the Utah football administration, and some other exciting things all here on Bleav in Utes. Thanks for checking back in on Bleav in Utes. I am your host, Jake Popoff, former Utah football team equipment student manager, and diehard Utah fan here. Glad to be checking in with you guys. There's been a pretty good amount of updates on the Utah football scene since the last episode here on Bleav in Utes. Again, biggest one so far, just announced today. The preseason Big 12 media poll has Utah on top. Really, really cool to see. I mean, at this point, I think any Utah fan could kind of feel that consensus, right? Sports Illustrated, Sports Center, ESPN, all things college football, like all these different social media networks and just media outlets have been mentioning for months now that Utah should be the favorite to win the conference in this inaugural season in this new Big 12. And then now the Big 12 themselves is admitting we are choosing Utah as the favorite to win the conference. Now that might be, that's a lot of pressure, right? We've seen pressure situations for this program in the past. After winning 2 back-to-back Pac-12 championships at the time before the 2023 season, when everyone was expecting Cam Rising to make a full return and be healthy and play in the 2023 season, the expectation was there to say, hey, now they got to go and three-peat, right? Obviously, that's pretty challenging there to win 3 in a row. So we knew that wasn't as much of a they have to do it scenario as it was. It would be really cool if Utah could live up to this hype, three-peat in this last season of the Pac-12 and get on out of there with 3 rings in a row. But again, we've seen lots of pressure, right? There's been plenty of times where Utah football has been ranked in the top 20 going into the season. And usually if we're on the lower half of that top 20 spectrum, we were able to climb up the ranks and do pretty well because we were still sort of an underdog, right? Well, that's not really the case now with all of this new buzz. To say that Utah should be the number one team at the end of the season, come out of that this coming season with a ring in the Big 12, that's a big expectation. That's 16 teams total, right? You're better than 15 teams at that point in the eyes of the conference that is welcoming you in for the first time. Anyway, really exciting stuff. It's some pressure, but that's okay. I think we're going to be built for that, right? Kansas State coming right behind Utah in second place. Then we got Oklahoma State, then Kansas, and then Arizona. So we got a fellow Pac-12 brethren that's transferring over to the Big 12, also in that top 5 preseason ranking for the Big 12 standings. But nevertheless, exciting to see that list come out. We're awaiting tons of fun media day coverage for the Big 12. So I expect to see some exciting vlog content and just some really fun photos and news articles coming out here very soon with Big 12 Media Day underway. But again, that list is that's really the most official source of preseason hype or praise that Utah football has gathered, right? You can have all these different analysts from all these different networks saying what they want to say about Utah football and where they're going to end up in this first season in the Big 12. But when the Big 12 themselves come out and say directly to the entirety of the Big 12 fan base that, hey, Utah is who we think is going to be the winner, and they are going to beat every one of your favorite teams, BYU included, Oklahoma State included, Kansas State, Texas Tech, West Virginia, you name them, they're going to beat them and they're going to win that ring. That's word of mouth from the Big 12 now. So definitely some pressure, but I think this team in particular is perfectly equipped to fight through the pressure, right? To kind of put the blinders on, block it all out, and focus on the mission here, right? We've got an offense led by Cam Rising, Brant Keefe, Mekhi Bernard, Jalen Glover, Landon King, guys who have been in the and Money Parks, guys who've been in the program for years now. Cam and Brant and Mekhi, a lot of years now, right? Just these veteran guys who are able to sort of be a guiding hand to these younger players and tell everyone, look, this is the program, this is the offense, this is how you're going to run it. We are not going to stray away from the mission of being the best team we can possibly be, and we are not going to ever alter our game plan and our mission for this season because of some external buzz from the media, right? I mean, we know it better than anyone that this team has dealt with a ton of media coverage. A lot of times really, really favorable coverage, and a lot of times a lot of hate, right? But again, as a player and as a member of this team, it's so important for these guys to stay locked in, not to get lost in the sauce or in the limelight, and just focus on the task at hand, which is, hey, you've got fall camp coming up, right? We need to keep everybody healthy. We need to keep everybody on the same page and in sync, get all these new transfers on the same page. A lot of these new freshman incoming players, right? They got to get up to speed really quick because the season is only a couple of months away now, which is awesome. So exciting to say. We've got, I think, 8 Saturdays until the first home game. So that's going to be really exciting. But these players, they have to stay locked in. Don't focus too much on this coverage. It is exciting. As a player, you should be like, yeah, we, as a Utah player or a Utah fan, we deserve this type of praise. We know what we're capable of. We've been slept on for so many years. And I guess you could argue rightfully so, right? We've never made it to the college football playoffs. We haven't actually won a Rose Bowl, which does still kind of hurt, right? Even though we've been to a couple, but so maybe we haven't really necessarily done anything that big ticket yet to get the entire country in favor of Utah as a fan of Utah and talking about Utah. But it is very interesting to see that we are now getting tons of buzz as the preseason favorite to win the conference. But again, hopefully these players don't alter what they are there to do, and they can stay locked in and get ready to go for fall camp right around the corner. Another media list that just came out, I guess you could say, 3 of our guys listed to the preseason all Big 12 football team. Brant Kuithe on there, Junior Tafuna, and Jack Baumeister. Showing some love to the Aussie kicker, or punter, I should say. We know Jack's got a boot on him. Absolutely tremendous punter last season. I don't know what the exact percentage was, but I want to say at least 80% of his punts were within the 10-yard line. So we know that guy's a stud and he's got an iron leg, right? Really fun to just know that Utah is back in the swing of having just some really fun specialists to watch, right? We haven't seen a guy. I want to say that Jack Baumeister is the most exciting punter or specialist that we've seen since Mitch Wisnowski. I think that's fair to say. I can't really think. I mean, Ben Renfro, I guess, a few years back, if y'all remember him, was pretty fun to watch. He kind of had that same Australian roll it out style. But nevertheless, Utah does a really good job of finding those Aussie kickers and punters. So shout out to Jack for making that list. That was cool to see. Brant and Junior, pretty much a given. We knew those guys should be on the list. But also, hey, where's the love for Cam Rising now, huh? I get it. Shedeur has the brand and the following, and he's got the potential. And I get it that, there's a ton of guys in this conference, in this league, that are going to be big-time playmakers at the quarterback position. But how about Cam Rising, huh? Show some love to our boy, Thick Boy 7. Maybe that's a good thing for Cam, right? He knows what everyone is saying about him right now in social media or on social media. They're saying Cam Rising is an old man. He's washed up. He hasn't played in 2 seasons. He's coming off an injury. Is he going to live up to the hype? He hasn't played a game in X, blah, 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 right? Everyone is rambling on and on about Cam's age and his lack of play over the last couple of seasons. I'm not worried about it. I think knowing Cam somewhat on a personal level, but just knowing him as a player, that guy is going to be fueled by this fire, and he's going to take it personally that he did not make that preseason list for the all Big 12 team. And I think there's plenty of other things in the media, again, just with everyone calling him old and washed up, that are going to fire up Cam Rising for this season. And again, why would you want to talk smack on a guy that has this many weapons on his offense now? Right? Damian Alford, Landon King, Money Parks, Brant Kuithe. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? Carson Wright. There's so many guys now on this offense that are receiving threats. I talked about it in the last episode. I would not be shocked whatsoever. In fact, I actually think that it should happen. I firmly believe that Utah needs to take a step in the direction of becoming a pass-first offense, and I think we will see glimpses of that this season. But with this amount of weapons on the offense, there's no reason that Cam can't have a 4,000-yard passing season, right? 25 touchdowns at the least. I think there's a fire within Cam Rising. I think we know it. He's always a little bit too calm and too collected to rule him out. We know there's a fire in him. There's a dog in him that just is ready to unleash. So anyway, fun to take a look at that preseason list, as well as the fact that we are the favorite to win the conference according to the conference. And on that note, BYU, where are y'all at? Number 13 on that list out of 16 teams? That ain't going to cut it. That's just not good enough, BYU. I mean, I don't know why every time I hop on Twitter or X, I still see people talking back and forth about, oh, BYU is better than Utah. What are you talking about? Do y'all even have a quarterback? Do you have the quarterback situation figured out yet? Because it sure doesn't seem like it. And not that that's everything, but I'm just saying it could be a good thing that BYU is this much of an underdog for their sake. But in the meantime, I know it really hurts as a BYU fan to see Cam Rising and that Utah Crimson Red painted all over every single Big 12 graphic that's being released to the public right now. And I mean, frankly, if I was a fan of any other team in this conference, I would be a little salty. I would be a little jealous of the Utah Utes coming in, not even having played one game with a Big 12 logo on their chest yet, and they're already the conference's favorite contender for the ring. I would be a little bit bummed out if I was a fan of another team. But nevertheless, as a Utah fan, feels really good to say, what's going on, y'all? We are here and we are ready to go. And we're going to show you this season why we were number one on that list. You got to have faith, right? You got to believe in Utes. That's the name of the game around here. So we're doing that over here. We're believing in them. We're trusting this list. I mean, if you would have asked me to make my own list, it would have looked very similar to this. Obviously, it's difficult because we know that when Utah does have so much pressure put on them in preseason, a lot of times that doesn't go our way. Things fall apart, right? Again, we saw it last season. We were expected to win a third Pac-12 title, kind of, right? Didn't go that way at all. But nevertheless, again, I think this is the team that will fight through adversity and overlook that pressure and just continue to work towards the goal of winning a ring in our first season in this conference. So exciting stuff on that front. Let's flip over to the recruiting side of things for a little bit. Since the last time I talked to y'all, there have been 3 or 4, I Bleav it's 4 or 5 actually, 3-star guys that have committed to the program for 2025, which is great, right? As it currently stands, where we are right now, our recruiting class is ranked number 12 in the Big 12. That's not great, but that's fine. As far as recruiting class rankings go, in my books as a Utah fan, it doesn't matter. It's all just talk, and it's all irrelevant information, because we know what our program is capable of doing to 2-star, 3-star, 0-star recruit guys, right? We see no-star guys and 3-star guys, 2-star guys going to the NFL year after year, coming out of the University of Utah because of our culture as a program. Our coaching staff is one of the best in the entire nation, if not the best coaching staff at developing guys that did not have that many offers out of high school and turning them into absolute products, right? Obviously, that looks a little bit different these days with the transfer portal. You're going to have a majority of these 3-star guys transferring out to smaller Division I schools or even Division II schools just so they can go get a shot at playing while they're in college. But for those guys that are determined to adapt to Utah's culture and they're not expecting a team to adapt to them, those guys that are determined will stay around and they will make their mark. And if they are a hard worker like Devin Lloyd, like a Corinne Reed, like a Julian Blackman, that type of player who just puts their nose down and grinds and doesn't care about their ranking, just knows their potential, they're going to have success in this Utah program. So very exciting to see these handful of 3-star guys committed very early on in the recruiting process. Obviously, we haven't really had any big ticket names yet. There's the whole Jerome Miles story that I briefly touched on in the last episode, which is exciting to follow up on. It's exciting to keep tabs on what his recruiting process is looking like day in and day out. He's posting tons of offers on his social media platforms, which rightfully so, right? He's a pretty recent 5-star. I think he just got that 5th star a couple months back or so. So as you know, he should be receiving more and more schools coming to him with offers, because that's what you deserve as a 5-star guy. Is you deserve every school in the nation making sure that you're getting offered up. So completely understandable that he's posting all these, offers on social media and good stuff, but nevertheless, still very intriguing that he decommitted from Ole Miss, and lots of rumors about, contracts being signed and things happening for Jerome Miles and the University of Utah. So we shall see, right? You just never know in today's day of college football, but would be really cool to start getting at least one 5-star guy, right? I think there's the potential to grab at least a second 5-star guy. And I've heard buzz that there is a handful of 4-star guys that should be committing within the next couple of months. But not that it matters too much again, right? Because I was just touching on how we are so good at using these 3-star guys and turning them into products. But for Utah football to continue to establish their national brand as a true powerhouse of a program, it's imperative that we do start to land 4- and 5-star guys year in and year out. It's just going to separate us even further. We already are known for our culture. We are already known for our coaching staff, our ability to overcome adversity. Throw in some really, really high caliber players now. There's no reason we're not in that conversation for the college football playoff year in and year out. So just wanted to touch on recruiting real quick. Again, I can do a deeper dive into some of those guys in the next couple of weeks here, once we get even more commitments coming. But I know we landed a linebacker, corner, athlete, another corner or two. So really exciting to see that we're starting to build the foundation for our 2025 recruiting class. And hopefully we will have some very exciting announcements here shortly. Bouncing back to the media coverage side of things, I have to bring this up because it came out after the last episode that I did here on Bleav in Utes. But EA College Football NCAA 25 has Utah locked in as a top 10 team, which is beyond exciting for me as a not only a Utah fan, but as an NCAA EA football game fan, right? Having not been able to play this game since 2014. Back then I was a UCLA fan when I was a little kid, right? My mom went there, this and that. Now I'm a diehard Ute through and through. Beyond excited to be playing NCAA 25 as the Utah Utes, who are going to be a top 10 program, which is awesome. It's awesome. It's great. It's just another check mark to add to the list of exciting things on the horizon for this program, that the first year back of this video game has Utah already so highly praised, right? Now, of course, it's a video game, so that rating is not going to matter too much. But I think video games have a lot more influence just on overall fans' perspectives of programs than we'll think, right? We are now going to see a lot of people using the Utah Utes online, playing against people who are using BYU, playing against people who are using Alabama, Georgia, the top dogs, right? And probably winning. I'm looking so forward to seeing a bunch of Twitter threads of Utah fans beating BYU fans on the game, beating Oregon fans, beating USC fans. It's just going to be electric to play as the Utah Utes with Cam Rising as the quarterback, Mekhi Bernard as the running back, Money Parks, Brant Keithy in that game. It's just going to be so, so exciting to use our favorite players in a video game to beat down on people who are using our least favorite teams, right? Some rivals. Colorado, great example. Utah versus Colorado is going to be electric in that game. But I bring this up because that's going to fluctuate as the season moves on, right? Our team ranking, our offensive ranking, our defensive ranking, those are all going to fluctuate as the season goes on. So if Utah continues to live up to the hype and performs at a very high level early on in the season and throughout the season, and our rating continues to increase, well, now all of a sudden you have people who are a fan of Utah in real life, and they're now an even bigger fan of them in the game because they are so fun to use in the game and a good team. So I guess I don't really know the exact science on how the video game will correlate to real brand awareness and real influence as Utah as a program in real life. But it will be exciting to see just the types of opportunities and doors that this video game will open with Utah in the top 10. very, very exciting as a fan and someone who will be playing the game to be able to say that, hey, put up whoever you want. I got a top 10 team. You're going to lose, buddy, because I got my Utes and we're winning. So anyway, had to bring up the video game front because that's coming in just a couple weeks here. So really exciting stuff there. And tying that back into the recruiting side of things, who knows if there's some kids now that are playing the game, right? And they're going to have that memory of, oh, that first NCAA video game that came back, I was using Utah all the time and Utah just became my team, right? A lot of these high school kids, junior high kids don't have a favorite college team. Now this video game might actually allow them to develop a favorite team. If that happens to be Utah and Utah continues to perform well and do well in the game and in real life, now all of a sudden, as more and more recruits get older, become 4-star guys, 5-star guys, they have this special relationship with Utah from a video game, maybe, and that might help sway some commitments. Again, I don't know the science, but it's fun to think about and it's fun to talk about, and we shall see how that video game pans out. So that's all good and exciting. Last couple of things here I wanted to touch on. We saw it officially announced by Utah football's administration that Morgan Scalley is the head coach in waiting. I think as someone who was involved with the team, as an employee and just any Utah fan in general, we've had a good feeling that Morgan Scalley was the next guy that was going to take the reins. But we didn't know for sure, right? Every team always has the opportunity to hire externally. But we all knew, let's be honest, we all knew Scalley is the perfect fit to be the next head coach. I think he's finally going to be able to release a deep breath and saying, okay, now I don't really have to worry about that as much. That's already pretty much set in stone. Now all I got to do is focus on being the amazing position coach that I am, focus on getting some of my safeties to the league, and focus on being a defensive coordinator, right? Continue to be that amazing defensive presence in college football and also in the Big 12. I think we had the best defense year in and year out in the Pac-12. I think it's going to look very similar here in the Big 12. Again, Morgan Scalley, Coach Shaw, Coach Swan, Coach Powell, Coach Ellis. The list goes on of amazing position coaches on the defensive side of the ball. And Morgan Scalley can kind of lead all those guys and be the ringleader of such a good defense. Obviously, he's going to be a fantastic head coach. So really exciting to see that announcement made by Utah football themselves. Now we can all say, okay, let's have Coach Witt introduce us to the Big 12, right? Coach us for another season or two, win another ring or two, and then let's let Kyle go and kick back on a beach somewhere, retire, and go live his life on his Harley, cruising around town. Because that's a guy that's taken this program to heights that were unimaginable before he took the head coaching position, right? So it is going to be bittersweet the day that Coach Witt decides to retire. But nevertheless, we know for a fact that when that day does come, there will be zero question about who's going to be the next head coach. We won't have to worry about it at all. We know it's going to be a great fit. And recruits now will also know that Utah football as a program is not going to look any different for the foreseeable future. Recruits now know that Coach Witt's getting up there. He's probably not going to be the head coach for many more seasons. So you might be a little bit weary to commit, but now you know, his ideal candidate is, essentially the exact same program and culture will be running when Coach Witt retires. That's going to sway a lot of recruits to say, I will commit there because I know that no matter what happens with Coach Witt in the next few seasons, we will be good over in Utah and Utah will be in good hands. So really excited and happy for Coach Scalley. Great guy. Just a really fun energy to have in the locker room and all that good stuff. So congratulations to Scalley. And I hope he can now enjoy being a position coach for a few more seasons and continue to do a world-class job at that. One last point that I had for today's episode, let's go across the state a little bit, or I guess north a little bit up to Utah State. Utah State's head coach, Blake Anderson, it's reported that he is on leave and unlikely to return to that program. So not that I follow Utah State football too closely or, not that it matters to the University of Utah athletics too much, but definitely interesting to see some head coaching drama occurring in our state here. And how does that really affect the U? Well, in my immediate thought, week one, we've got Southern Utah, right? I don't want to say that's a guaranteed win because no game is, but let's be honest, that should be very winnable. And then we've got Baylor at home. Again, I think that should be an extremely winnable game. We managed to figure out a way to beat them on the road last season with Nate Johnson stepping in late in the game and making a comeback. And anyway, I think those first two games are going to be very winnable. And then we've got Utah State at Utah State, which is kind of an interesting game because we're only driving 40 minutes north to play an away game, which is something that Utah football has not done in I don't even know how long, but it's not something that we typically would do is say, okay, Utah State, we'll go to your stadium and play at your, to play at your home in a preseason game where really you are the ones getting more media coverage and a better broadcast deal out of this than we are. But we'll come into your house and we'll show you what Utah football is all about. So that is already a pretty interesting situation to me, but I would imagine that this Blake Anderson on leave situation might have some type of influence on that game, because if that program is still sort of in shambles or scrambling around to, maybe they're just dealing with an interim head coach or they don't really know what their future looks like, that game should be even more winnable if that team is lacking a sense of head coaching direction. So anyway, I think that to bring that full circle, there's no reason that our Utes shouldn't start 3-0. No doubt in my mind, we will be 3-0 entering conference play. And then again, it all comes back full circle. Let's show the Big 12 that they were correct in their assessment. And let's show the Big 12 fans that, hey, you can be jealous. You can be angry that we're coming in this first season and getting this much praise. But hopefully this time in January, we will say, see, told you so. That's why you should have never counted us out. And again, let's be honest. We've always been really good at being the underdogs. But if we want to start to become that national powerhouse and continue to grow our national brand, it's time to start embracing a more hero role, right? Start to take a look internally and say, okay, we've been good at the underdog role. Now it's time to actually set really high expectations and just live up to them. No more ifs, ands, or buts. We know injuries are going to happen. We know there's going to be things that don't go our way, but this team needs to start finding ways to live up to expectations and exceed expectations, get into that 12-team playoff, make a splash in there, and let's just start to snowball our national brand and relevance. So again, tons of exciting things on the horizon for this Utah football program. Lots of exciting things, I'm sure, to come very soon on the recruiting side of things. So I will be checking in with y'all very soon about the recruiting side of things. And I'm looking forward to seeing some Big 12 Media Day coverage. So that'll be coming up soon. But as always, thank you so much for listening to Bleav in Utes, checking in with me. Go ahead and drop a like, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Download it on Apple and Spotify. That really helps. And just leave a comment. Even if it's a hate comment, leave a comment or something, right? What do y'all think about this? What do you think about Scalley becoming the head coach? Who do you think Utah's next recruit is going to be that they land? And what are your thoughts on being ranked number 1 in the Big 12 preseason media poll? Let me know. Again, thanks for listening to Bleav in Utes. I'm Jake Popoff. I'll see y'all soon. Go Utes.